Gaza has been under an Israeli humanitarian blockade for more than 70 days, preventing food, medicine, water and tents for a weary population. According to the UN, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are continually and forcibly displaced, confined into ever-shrinking spaces. 70% of Gaza's territory either within Israeli militarized zones or under displacement orders.
Israel is deliberately and unashamedly imposing inhumane conditions on civilians in the Occupied Palestinian Territory. Every single one of the 2.1 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip face the risk of famine. 1 in 5 face starvation. Despite the fact that you have funded the food that could save them. The few hospitals that have somehow survived bombardment are overwhelmed. The medics who have somehow survived drone and sniper attacks cannot keep up with the trauma and the spread of disease. Even today, the European Gaza hospital in Khan Yunis was bombed again, with even more civilian casualties reported.
The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC, released a snapshot this week, warning that while the entire Gaza population faced high levels of acute food insecurity and at critical risk of famine, 1 in 5 Gazans are currently facing starvation, a situation that was expected to worsen in the months ahead. The current analysis marks a serious deterioration compared to a previous snapshot published in October last year. It also found that the ongoing blockade had reversed the temporary alleviation of acute food insecurity achieved in Gaza during the most recent ceasefire in which several hostages were released. The UN Secretary-General also expressing alarm, especially that the vast majority of Gaza's children faced extreme food deprivation.
The way to address this crisis should be clear, and we've been very clear on that front. Open up Gaza so that aid and other essential supplies can reach everyone who needs them, wherever they are.
The UK, joined by France, Denmark, Greece and Slovenia, all currently serving on the Council, issued a joint statement warning that the blocking of aid as a pressure lever was unacceptable, calling on Israel to lift its block on aid and enable humanitarians to save lives.
Humanitarian aid must never be used as a political tool or a military tactic. We're also deeply concerned at proposals to establish a new mechanism for the delivery of aid, which the UN has said would not meet humanitarian principles. International law requires Israel to allow and to facilitate the safe, rapid and unimpeded passage of humanitarian aid and ensure that basic services are provided for all Gazan civilians. This applies to all armed conflicts around the world. Gaza is not an exception.
Amid continued death, destruction, disease and hunger in what Tom Fletcher described as a systematic dismantling of Palestinian life.
The ICJ is considering whether a genocide is taking place in Gaza. It will weigh the testimony that we have shared, but it will be too late. Recognizing the urgency, the ICJ has indicated clear provisional measures that must be implemented now, yet they have not. Previous reviews of the UN's conduct in cases of large-scale violations of international human rights and humanitarian law, reports on Myanmar 2019, Sri Lanka 2012, Srebrenica, Rwanda, both in 1999, pointed to our collective failure to speak to the scale of violations while they were committed. So for those killed and those whose voices are silenced, what more evidence do you need now? Will you act decisively to prevent genocide and to ensure respect for international humanitarian law? Or will you say instead that we did all we could?
Hamas released Israeli-American hostage Idan Alexander as a goodwill gesture to the United States this week in the hopes that it would use its leverage to move Israel towards ending the war. But Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has signaled there would be no end to the war until Hamas was completely defeated, amid a new round of ceasefire hostage release talks in Doha, Qatar this week. Shervin Bryce, please, SABC News, New York.